Okay, so in this class, we are going to be dealing with a lot of geometric figures and their parts, and so we want to be able to name them and refer to them correctly. So we're going to do a little bit of note-taking right now on naming parts of geometric figures. So go ahead, turn to page 5 of your notebook, and put 5 on the top right corner, and write the title. So naming parts of geometric figures. Go ahead and pause the video until you're done with that and then keep on going. All right, so the very first geometric or first part of a geometric figure we want to know about are your points. So points are usually named with one letter. So I'm going to draw a quick picture. So we have a point, just usually in the shape of a dot. And we can usually call it some kind of letter. Let's say we call this point A. Okay. Next, okay, is a line. So a line consists of 2 points. Okay. And we can go ahead and take 2 points. So let's say point A. I'm going to copy this. And put another point over here. And call it point. Let's call it point B. Okay. If I were to connect these 2 points so that they connect and form a line, so a line goes on to infinity both ways, right? It never ends, it just keeps on going. That's why there are arrows. Let me straighten this out. Sorry. Okay. So if we have this line that connects 2 points, okay, we would call this line, we can name this line right here line AB. And lines have this thing on top of them. Let's see if there's a line. Trying to put, there's usually 2 arrows on top of the name. So it would be called line AB. Okay. So, yeah, so there you go. You'd have 2 arrows on top of the AB, and that indicates, okay, well, this line connects the 2 points AB. If I were to put another point on this diagram, so let's say take another point. And I put it somewhere else on this line. Okay, so let's say I have another point. Let's call this one point C. Okay, you can actually also call, oops, what happened? There we go, point C. Sorry, the name is not showing up for some reason. just put a name right there. Okay. If I were to call this new point on the line point C, I can also name this line according to that point. So I can call it line AB. I can call it line AC if I want, because this line also connects the 2 points AC. I can call it line BC, right? BC, because these 2 points go through the line. So there are multiple ways to name this line. It doesn't have to just be AB, but any 2 points that lie on the line can be used. So that's a note. Any 2 points that lie on the line can be used to name it, okay? And remember, you always have to have these arrows on top of the name to indicate it's a line. It goes on forever on both sides, okay? So take a moment to copy these notes down. Pause the video here and then keep on going when you're finished. Okay, so now that you know how to name a point and a line, you can also name line segments. So usually these are named using the endpoint. So a line segment is a portion of a line, right? It's not the entire line because the line goes on for forever this way, goes on forever that way. But a line segment is just a part of a line. So part of a line. It does not go on forever. It has an end, right? So for example, if I were to take this whole diagram and I were to highlight, let me take my line here, let's say a portion of it, and I'm gonna make this a little yellow and a little heavier, kind of see, right? So you can see this portion from A to B is just part of the line. That's line segment AB. So for example, the highlighted part is line segment AB, and the way you do that is you do a line on top of, so instead of having arrows, you see how for a line the line above it has arrows to indicate it goes on for forever. Line segment doesn't have those arrows because you're essentially saying the line segment stops at A and stops at B, doesn't keep on going, okay? So if I highlight this line segment right here, let's put it in green maybe, okay? The green, yellow highlighted part. So the green highlighted part is line segment AC. So, you know, it starts at A or it ends at A, ends at C. Those are its 2 endpoints. Okay? So it's different from a line. Okay, this is one line, this is one entire line. And then these parts, the yellow part and the green part, are line segments. So go ahead, take a moment, copy these notes down about line segments, and then move on when you are ready. Okay, the next part of a geometric figure you need to know are your vertex, So a vertex is the point of a polygon where 2 line segments meet to form a corner, okay? So for example, let's just do a picture of a polygon. Let's say I do the shape of a rhombus right here. Okay, so this line segment right here in red and this line segment right here in green meet at this corner. I'm gonna go ahead and circle it. Right here is a corner. Yeah, right? You see that? So that corner is called a vertex. Whoops. That right there is called your vertex, okay? So usually a vertex is, it's a point, right? It's the point where two line segments meet. So it's named with one letter, right? A point is always named with one letter. So we can call this vertex A, for example. Okay. So that's your next term. Go ahead, take a moment, pause the video, make sure you have the sound, and then move on when you're ready. Okay, so where two line segments meet, they also meet and form an angle, okay? So an angle is usually named with the angle symbol. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. Oh, it's symbol. Oops. Okay. So the angle symbol is this, it looks like an angle, right? And it's named with the 3 points that make up that angle. So for example, let's say I have something like, and the 3 points that make up the angle. In order, the vertex of the angle is always the middle letter. Okay, so what does that mean? I'll go ahead and show you. Let me go ahead and write this here actually. Okay, so let's do a picture. So I've got two line segments that meet at an angle. So let's say I've got this line segment and this line segment. Right here, they meet at an angle, okay? So I'm gonna name the 3 points that make up my angle. There's a point right here. Let's call it Q. And then there's another point right here. Let's call it W. And there's another point right here. Let's call it M. No, let's call it T. Okay? As you can see, I have an angle that starts at Q, goes to W, and then goes to T. Alternatively, you could say it's an angle that starts at T, goes to W, and then goes to Q. The point is W is the vertex, so it's always in the middle. So you can name this angle either, so example, you can name that angle right there, angle QWT, or angle TWQ, right? It doesn't really matter where you start and where you end, but the vertex has to be in the middle. If you were to name it something else, let's say QTW, you're now going from Q to T to W, which is not the same angle. It's a different angle that's being formed. Or if you went TQW, again, that's a different angle, right? This is the angle that's being formed. If you're looking at this particular angle, you have to put the vertex in the middle of the name, so QWT. All right, so take a moment to write down this note about naming angles, and then when you're ready, let's move on to the next term. All right, so you're almost finished. You have one more term left, and the next term we're talking about is array. Array is a line segment that extends infinitely in only one direction. So as you can see, sorry, just got a line. Okay, so you see how line AB right here extends infinitely to the left side and to the right side? Array only extends infinitely in one direction. So for example, I'm going to put array, okay, right here. And again, rays are named with 2 letters. So let's say I have array right here. So as you can see, it starts at W and then goes on to infinity this way, but it stops at W, right? It doesn't go on the other direction. It just goes into one direction. So rays are also named with, 2 letters. And the way that you show that it's array, so let's call this S right here. Okay. Let me move this a little bit. Okay. So example, the way you show array is by putting an arrow that only goes one way. So the line, right, has 2 arrows both ways, but array only goes in one direction. So we're going to call this ray WS, okay? So as you can see, angles are actually 2 rays that meet at a vertex. So WQ is actually a ray, so I'm going to change this. And then WT is also a ray. So when you have 2 rays meeting into a vertex, that makes an angle. Okay, so in your diagram, just go ahead and change WQ into array and WT into array. WS right here is also array, and you can see there's another angle formed by QWS, right? It's a smaller angle that meet at W. So make sure you have all these notes down on page 5 of your notebook, because it's going to be really important that you are able to refer to these parts appropriately. So, you can't refer to an angle incorrectly, because then that would form a different angle. If you said something like QWS, that's different from QWT. Right? Or if you start talking about a line segment when you really mean a line and you like write down the incorrect thing, you aren't labeling these things correctly. So it would be like saying, let's say I'm giving directions to somebody and I said turn right on Saucer Street and I actually meant turn left, right? That person's going to get lost. So it's really important we name things correctly so that how we're describing what's going on is easy to follow and it makes sense. So make sure that you're familiar with all of these terms, and then once you're done taking notes, you can move on to the next part of this challenge.